Warnock and the Bruins look to keep their historic season going.
What a save by Omar!
As they face Sidney Crosby and a Pittsburgh Penguins team continuing their own playoff push.
The pass looks at Red Sox. He scores!
Get ready for the rush. ABC Hockey Saturday, presented by Expedia. Bruins Penguins, Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC and ESPN+.
Tomorrow on ESPN Radio.
Today, the games count.
First game of the big league season. Happy opening day.
It's Major League Baseball's opening day.
The Houston Astros have won the World Series.
The world champion Houston Astros begin a defense of their title when they welcome the Chicago White Sox. The Astros and White Sox. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. You can also listen on the ESPN app and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
Wednesday on Canty and Carlin, Kevin Durant returns, but is there enough time to gel with his teammates?
Plus, draft analyst Jordan Reed unveils his latest mock. We'll see which signal caller is at the top.
It's Wednesday, Canty and Carlin, 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
All these people talk about Calipari. It's amazing that if you've never walked a mile in his shoes, for you to have all those opinions about Coach Calipari. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Hall of Fame. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the SEC.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Kenner and Cav live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Off and rolling here on a Wednesday. Can't believe it. Opening day coming up tomorrow. The baseball season's officially here. Final Four coming up this weekend. Men and women's college basketball. College basketball season wraps up. NBA playoffs coming up around the corner. NFL draft coming up as April approaches. So much going on. And again, by the way, let me ask you, the season for baseball, opening day tomorrow. Although we're going to be at GABP, we're going to be down at Great American Ballpark for our opening day show tomorrow. Thank you to our sponsor, Frickers, of course. But it doesn't feel, I don't know about you, but this is like one of the first times our baseball season has approached, and it doesn't feel like it, at least not to me.
No, it doesn't feel like baseball season yet. The tournament was great, or still is going on. The women's tournament has been great, and there's just so much buzz with the NFL, the never-ending story of Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. It just constantly goes on and on. And I got a prediction about the Aaron Rodgers thing that we're going to get to later on.
All right, I'm Justin Kenner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
We didn't do it right today. Or I didn't do it right today. I didn't set you up properly today, but we're off and rolling here. The number to call in, 518-1410, 518-1410. You want to jump in on the conversation, you could do so. We're live on the Facebook page as well. Justin Kenner Show Facebook page. Check that out. ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. We're there. We could stream the show live at wingam.com. You could listen the old school way, 1410 Wing AM, however you're doing it. Doesn't really matter. We just appreciate that you're doing it because there's so many different ways you could take the show in. So there's that. All right. With that being said, it does not feel like baseball season, but baseball season is officially here. Kevin and I will be off tomorrow afternoon, I should say. Reds and Pirates, game one of the season, 162 games, starting tomorrow. But and that'll take us all the way in. What's crazy is the season starts tomorrow. When the season wraps up, we'll be in the midst of college football, high school football, all that crazy stuff. So we're off and rolling there.
Love it.
Tomorrow morning, bright and early, Kevin and I will be heading to Cincinnati. Kenner and Kev live from opening day, presented by Frickers. Will be at Great American Ballpark from 8 to 10 a.m. Kevin and I we just talked with Marty Brenneman a little bit ago earlier on today, just mapping out what we're going to talk about on tomorrow's show. So he's going to actually be with us tomorrow morning. He'll be zooming into the show, which is pretty cool to have him on. We have Hal McCoy coming up here around the corner as well. We're going to chat with him. So much Red stuff to dive into, and I decided to throw Kev a little bone, and we'll talk some Guardians coming up. The thing is, we don't like talking about good baseball teams around here. So I try, I give the listeners what they want. Not talking about good baseball teams.
We talk about Wright State's baseball team. They're the best team in the state.
Best team in the state, absolutely. So, all right. I happened to get on the old FanDuel app a little bit ago.
Oh, boy. Is that time again?
It is that time. And Marty earlier today, we just kind of going back and forth about, laughing about this upcoming season and everything. He was kind of joking with us about the fact that, everyone's confident this team will be better than they were last year. In fact, he's confident that they'll be better than they were last year, mainly because of the fact that, how could you be any worse? As he joked with us earlier today. So I'm like, okay, that's valid. But again, as we've talked about, as I've thrown out there multiple times, this is a situation where if you are tuning into the Reds this year with the anticipation being, man, are they going to win 80, 85 games? Are they going to be in the running for the wild card? Are they going to be competing for NL Central title? No, they're not going to be doing any of that. They're not going to be doing any of that. They're not going to be a big success from a win-loss standpoint. They are going to win more games than 62, in my opinion. The win-loss, according to FanDuel, is set at 65.5. That's the win total for the season. The over-under on that, we'll get to that in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that when you look at the fact that last year, this Reds team, after that opening month of April, where they won like 2 games or 3 games or whatever it was, they won 3 games in the month of April last year. And then, after that disastrous start, they finally gotten a little bit of a rhythm. They played 500 baseball the rest of the way. Now, I bring that up because do I expect them to be a 500 baseball team this year? I mean, that would have to put them at the 80-win mark. And I don't know if they can get to 80 wins. But I also think with the win-loss total being at 65.5, if the fact that you actually have an established 3-man rotation, I mean, it's a 5-man rotation, but you have an established group of 3 guys to be the weight of that. They're going to be figuring out who's that 4 and 5 throughout, of course. Sessa's going to be in the mix, all that stuff. So if you have Hunter Green, you have Nick Lodolo, you have Graham Ashcraft, those 3, to have those 3 guys to go to, and for one, this is the future of this season, but the future of the franchise when this team does get to the points where they are in the playoff conversation, heading into playoff series, knowing that you have Hunter Green 1, Nick Lodolo 2, Graham Ashcraft 3, I feel pretty good about those 3 once they're developed and kind of more seasoned to go up against some of the top rotations in baseball. It's going to be pretty exciting as far as that's concerned, and I do believe when it is time for this team to take that next step that they will spend money and they'll bring in another big-name pitcher to balance it all out. But that's not going to happen yet. This season is about figuring out which stars from last year took that next big step. That's what it's all going to be coming down to this upcoming year. I like the rotation with those 3. Going to be a little dicey on the back end, yes. The bullpen, solid names in there, but it's all going to be about health. Getting guys back off, the IL. Obviously, Alexis Diaz being able to take that next big step. I've been a big fan of TJ Antone. He came on the show about 2 years ago, and he last played when Trevor Bauer was here. He actually worked very closely with Bauer and his staff, and I remember during that stretch where TJ Antone had some of the best stuff. I mean, as far as the breaking ball was concerned, I mean, he was throwing the ball real well. And then, of course, the injury comes. He misses all of season, going to miss the start to this season. Hopefully they get him back, but that's a weapon right there that at times has had starting type stuff too. I'm a big fan of TJ Antone. Everything's there. The runs, that's where I'm going to be concerned. You have Jonathan India, you have Tyler Stevenson, of course, Nick Senzel. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Maybe he'll be healthy this year. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Obviously, Joey Votto on the IL for the first time in 14 years will not be in the lineup on opening day. So there's that little wrinkle as well. This is going to be a very interesting season. It's a season that if you're just basing it off wins, losses, I'm sorry you're going to be disappointed. But if you've been following the Reds, you've been following the farm system, you've been following the development of Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, and the young core, and just keep going down the list. If you've been following the development of these guys, either through the minors or on the main roster itself thus far in the very infancy stages of this rebuild, you will enjoy this upcoming season. I plan on enjoying it. I'm not going to let the negative people out there, I know that's very rich coming from me, not going to let y'all bring me down. I am jacked for opening day tomorrow. I'm jacked for the 2023 baseball season to be here. Cannot wait to hear Tommy Thrall's voice call the games all season long. Cannot wait to talk with Marty Brenneman tomorrow. We have Hal McCoy coming up. Can't wait to talk Reds with him. Y'all negative people, I don't need it today. I'm not going to let y'all win. I feel pretty good about the Reds. To sum up, the over-under is 65.5, Kev, for the Reds. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to put it at about, I'm going to say 72, 73 wins in that range. That's not a big over. I get that.
Right.
But that's a 10-win improvement from a season ago. And again, I'm not talking about this team being a wild card contender, a division winner, or anything like that. Simply a double-digit improved win team from a season ago.
That will be fair because they only won 62 last year. And for all the Reds fans out there that are angry, that are upset and everything like that, imagine being the Nationals. They lost 107 games last year. So you weren't the worst team in Major League Baseball. But that's what a new season provides. A new season provides hope because everybody starts at ground zero. Everybody's 0-0 right now. Now, we'll see how things are in May and everything like that, see how the record's going. But right now, going into this first series of the season versus the Pirates, everybody's 0-0. And the Pirates had the exact same record as you did last year. So you could probably come away with 2 wins to start the season off. So it's going to be a very interesting season to see if they can, the season was over by May. And this is how I know the season was over by May. We didn't talk a lot of Reds throughout the summer. And the season before, like, they were up and down. So it was a lot of Reds talk about what's wrong with this team. Once the first month of the season went by, there was a point of no return. Like, there's no point to talk about them. The season's over. So it was just simply there as a getaway tool. Like, hey, you're not going down to the ballpark for entertainment. You're going down there for a family outing because, hey, it's the summertime. This is what we kind of do. We're going to go down to the game, eat a couple hot dogs, drink a couple beers, and just have a good time, as opposed to watching a great product on the field. But a new season brings new hope and a whole bunch of young dudes. And it's kind of like that, like how NFL teams talk about, like, well, all we got to do is get healthy. And that's going to be our new guys because we didn't have our guys last year. And that's kind of like what seems to be the mindset of a lot of Reds fans. Like, all right, now we can take a real good look at a team now that we're healthy.
518-1410, 518-1410. Hall of Famer Hal McCoy joins us 10 minutes from now. But to the comment section we go. David Shaw, he goes, I got the under on the Reds.
Wow.
Over under. Shaw, just curious. So this is a 62-win team from a year ago. 65.5 is the win total. Why the under? I mean, it's your opinion. That's fine. I'm just curious as the why. This team is better than last year. They're more seasoned. They're more experienced. And if they pick up what they left off last year, theoretically, technically, 500 ball club. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just kind of trying to feel out why you're going with the under. When I say the over, I'm not being a homer. I'm not doing this. Oh my gosh, they're going to win 80, 85 games.
Only 66.
I had them,
not a lot.
Yeah. I had them winning just about 7-8 games more than last year. But again, I am curious kind of where that's coming from as far as that's concerned. Doug Toby, great point here. Don't say that often about the Bengals fan. Doug Toby, he says, pretty sure they're not going to start 3-22.
Oh man,
I'm pretty sure of that as well. Hopefully, my gosh.
Better not.
I mean, there's been a lot of good luck going in Cincinnati with their other professional sports team. It's like, did the Bengals suck it all up because and just not have any left to share with the Reds? But yes, I would have to assume that unless the baseball gods hate the Cincinnati Reds, I do not envision a 3-22 start here in the month of April. They do have a 3-game series with the Pirates to open things up. Game 1 tomorrow, of course. And looking at they have another 4-game series with Pittsburgh here on the road in the month of April. And they got a couple with Oakland, 3 with Oakland. That's bad. But they do have to go. They have to play Philly a handful of times. They got to play Atlanta. They have to play the Cubs. They have to play Tampa Bay. And they have to play Texas. So, again, I see about a 500 month of April. And that's all I ask. I've said before, from a sports radio perspective, Reds, take us into May, take us into June, get us to June, and we'll take it over. We'll take you from there. The NFL will grab us in June and we'll go the rest of the way. Just get us to June. That is all I am begging you, Cincinnati Reds, as far as that's concerned. Deborah Gall on Facebook, she goes, I say 75 wins if Bell doesn't F it up.
Oh, gosh.
She didn't say the F word. She just capital F.
Bleep.
If he doesn't capital F it up, she says. So there you go. To be fair, not to be fair, I felt like, am I a David Bell guy now? But I just didn't complain about David Bell last year because I felt like that roster was so bad and young that you got to take a lot of the results out of his hands. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. With all the rule changes, with the rule changes, it's going to really put him in position where he has to make decisions, especially when it comes to stealing bases and the small ball approach and that type of thing. It is going to change, what type of double switches you make, what kind of lineup, you put out there because of the fact that, okay, now that shift is out of there, now you're going to have better, hitting. I think you have much better hitting percentages this coming up season as well because of that. So that's what I'm also really interested in as well. But David Bell, maybe if I'm complaining about David Bell this year, that's a good thing. That means that there's expectations. That means that they are playing well enough that when they lose, I'm irritated. So we'll see what happens, Deborah, as far as that's concerned. All right, continuing to go down the list. Sean Matthew Kev says, I think that we as Reds fans can and need to detach our hatred for the ownership, and we need to root for these young Reds players. I'll take the over because they won't start 3-22. This is the positivity I've been looking for, Reds fans.
That's the popular opinion, taking the over. But Okay, so over obviously would just simply be 66 games. What would be a good season? What would be make people say, you know what? Okay, we didn't make the playoffs, but that was a good season. Is it 75 wins? Is it getting all the way up to 80 wins?
It's not wins at all for me.
Okay.
It's Jonathan India. And to answer your 7, I think a win improvement, a significant, like let's say they get to that 75 win mark. Let's just say they flirt with the 80 and get to 77, 78. That's a great win-loss season. But honestly, it has to, what I'm looking for this year, Jonathan India, banged up last year, get back to that Rookie of the Year season that you had 2 years ago. Tyler Stevenson, he was the best hitter in the Reds lineup last year when he was healthy. 3 stints on the IL, all coming from behind home plate in that catcher position. And I think with Votto starting out on the IL, I am curious tomorrow's lineup, who's going to be at first base? Is Stevenson going to be at first? Stevenson going to be behind the plate? I am curious about that. But the Stevenson taking that next big step, staying healthy, being one of the best hitters and power hitting catchers in baseball. I think that's huge. India returning to form. My God, maybe Nick Senzel being healthy for longer than a month. I mean, who knows there? There's a lot of position players, as far as I'm concerned, that have to kind of break out this year. Hunter Green has all the stuff to be a star. He's the youngest opening day starter tomorrow. He's the youngest opening day starter. Of all the pitchers starting tomorrow on opening day, he's the youngest. All right, this is a young superstar in the making, and the Reds have a lot of pressure to make sure that they do not, as Deborah said earlier, F this up, I guess, as she said. I'm fascinated by him and Nick Lodolo. I just want to see the development of the stars. I want to know that, okay, if all these stars are developing, they better be losing for what's not on the roster as opposed to what's on the roster. Like with the stars. Like, oh, man, we should be winning, but Hunter Green's not living up to expectations.
Right.
Graham Ashcraft took a step back. They should not be losing games because of what's on the roster. They need to be losing games because of what's not on it. That makes it easier for the front office when it comes to making decisions as far as where to go spend money when that time comes. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But I do like to see people saying, yes, separate the hatred for the ownership from the team itself, because it's the players are playing hard.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Kenner and Cav here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Appreciate all the input on the chat section. We'll get back to your comments on the other side. We'll also have a Hall of Fame guest waiting for us when we come back. The Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy, will get his take on what to expect for this year's Cincinnati Reds squad when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast mostly cloudy, 25 tonight. Sunshine, 57 tomorrow. Friday, showers breezy and 63. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Your joints are talking to you, right? They're saying, hey, something's not right. You didn't listen because you thought the pain would go away in a week or two, but it's not going away.
Football legend Emmitt Smith knows you've got to listen to your body. Never ignore what it's telling you. And when it sends pain signals, don't wait. Get ahead. Stop it in its tracks with a visit to the nation's leader in joint pain relief.
That's QC Kinetics. Yeah, they are way ahead of the curve in this pain treatment business.
QC Kinetics says no to invasive surgeries and harsh drugs. They found a better, natural way to relief using your body's own healing properties that you were born with. And it takes place same day, right in the office during your appointment. No surgeries and no downtime.
Before that pain goes next level, get ahead of it. Go see QC Kinetics. Stop it in its tracks.
Call QC Kinetics 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Are you ready for tax season? Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services is ready for you. If you want to come in person, it's a safe environment. Or you can just drop off. Belmont Tax also provides a completely virtual, secure client portal. For business or personal, if you want the accurate deductions you deserve, contact Belmont Tax in Dayton and Eaton. Go to BelmontBCTXS.com. BelmontBCTXS.com.
The law offices of Blake Maceland will fight for you. Call 444-4444. Want more fight? More attention? More compensation? We've recovered millions in auto and injury cases. We don't know what your case is worth until you call.
One more call. 444-4444-4444. Call Blake Maceland.
Today on Hey Culligan, how smart is your water? Here's Tracy.
Hey Culligan, I think my water might be dumb.
Good news, Tracy. Your water's not dumb. It's just not talking to you.
You can make my water talk.
No, but the new Culligan Smart Drinking Water System can talk to your phone to tell you when your water filters need changing and help you meet drinking water goals.
Now that's some brilliant H2O.
You said it, Tracy, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
So we were in Times Square
taking selfies with all the lights.
I bought a shot glass.
I bought a snow globe at this little shop.
You know, I collect those.
Then we grabbed a slice
at this super secret spot.
It smelled a bit
funky outside.
I heard they don't have alleys.
They don't have alleys.
They don't have alleys, but they certainly have people. Lots of people.
When everyone's vacation sounds the same,
it's time for something different. Go on a real vacation. Go RVing. Learn more at GoRVing.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-330-1991. That's 1-800-330-1991. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-330-1991. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
Dayton sports fans, for more local sports content, make sure to subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. And don't miss the Miami Valley's only local sports talk show, The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. Kinner and Kev, live from opening day, presented by Frickers. This Thursday morning at 8 a.m., right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM.
I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. We are back live right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. You're listening to us live on 1410 Wing AM, streaming live at wingam.com, live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, live on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. The Hall of Famer Hal McCoy will be joining us coming up here in just a few moments. We opened up the show, of course, opening day tomorrow, and feel like we've not spent enough time on baseball. We didn't spend any time on baseball, to be kind of fair as far as that's concerned. So with that being said, you know, and getting the reaction we're getting on the social media side of things, what will you consider to be a good season for the Cincinnati Reds? That's the question that Kev threw out to us just a little bit ago. And is it as simple as is it a win-loss result type of answer? You know, is it, if they win 75, I'll be happy. But to me, if you win 75 games, but Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo take steps back, and now there's some big question marks about them. If all of a sudden Jonathan India, who has one Rookie of the Year season and then the injury-riddled bad season last year, and then he has a bad third year, now you have two bad seasons to one. Now you have question marks about that. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, I don't care. I mean, I care about the wins, losses, but I do believe all comes at the same time. If everyone is developing the way that they're supposed to, I think those wins will surpass the win total of 65.5. So I think that's where we're at as far as that's concerned. But it is interesting seeing some of the responses come on here. Deborah Gall on Facebook, Kev, says, a good year to me would be more wins, staying in games, staying healthy, and not cleaning house in July. So to be fair, they didn't clean house last year. Right? There was nothing to clean out. The other thing I keep getting, I have a lot of friends send me this. Ken Griffey Jr. is the third highest paid employee, is the third highest paid player on the roster this year. Right. He's not on the roster, but as far as payroll is concerned. And I think it's being overblown. It's like $3.6 million a year. Okay. A lot of teams pay a lot of players for years after they're done playing and stuff. They stretch it out, kind of like, that's basically what the salary cap is like in football. That's how they get away with it there as far as that's concerned. But nonetheless, real quick, Revan, phone 5. Yeah, we're going to effort to get Hal on coming up here in just a second. He said he's called and that it's not coming through. So we'll figure it out. We'll get Hal on coming up here in just a moment. But with the Ken Griffey thing, the thing that's interesting to me is the fact that, okay, yes, third highest paid player salary-wise for the Reds. But keep in mind, it is one of those situations where the Reds are spending so little money. Okay, they're spending so little money that, of course, it just sounds weird that he is the third highest paid player for the Reds this upcoming season, but it's only $3.6 million. There he is, Kev. I think we're good. I think that's him calling. Are you sure? It's coming up on my end as him, but we're good. We'll figure it out. But no, back to what we were talking about. As far as Ken Griffey's concerned, $3.6 million. The Reds are spending little to no money this upcoming season. So, of course, him coming up third is propped up, and I think people are overreacting to that just a tad. Continuing to go down the list, as far as that's concerned, Steve Stetler, he says 75 wins is what he is thinking. Sean Matthew, if the Reds could get 75 wins, that would be great, but development is key. I would love to see the starting pitching grow, as well as seeing if Barrero, Steer, or Fraley can establish themselves as everyday major leaguers and a core to the team moving forward. That I agree with, and that is something that I think is going to be the main talking point and something that we look at a lot this upcoming season. That's for sure. Scott Campbell on YouTube. A good season is 75-plus wins, and the young talent currently in the minors getting reps in Cincy going into 2024. Absolutely. I do think the 75-plus win thing is, I don't know how realistic that is. Kev, when you hear someone say, well, 75 wins is what I consider a good season, I think you could still have what he just said of having the young core players be developed and not have the 75-win season at the same time.
75 is a lot. I would say if you get to 70, that would be plus 8 wins from the previous season. I think that's a good starting place. I mean, I don't think, has anybody ever gone, like, we hear this term, worst to first. Has somebody ever done that in Major League Baseball with basically the same roster as opposed to, basically going to buy a whole new team? Like, they're coming into this season basically with the same type of guys that they had last year. So I don't think that's feasible, but I think 70 will be a good mark for for the fans to say, hey, obviously there's been improvement record-wise, and that's a place we can start from.
All right. I think Hal is calling in, so we'll get to him coming up here in just a second. But you think about some of those worst to first. This isn't like in the NFL when you have, of course, like the Cincinnati Bengals who win 2 games and win 2 games one year, win 4 games the next, and are in the Super Bowl the next year. You know what I mean? Like, we see in football all the time the worst to first, or maybe not the worst to first, but we see very, very quick turnarounds. That's the one thing about baseball that can be frustrating, is that there really isn't, especially with the market, especially with a franchise like the Reds, there's really not such thing as a worst to first type scenario or anything like that Reds fans can really hang their hat on. That's why I'm trying to temper expectations when people only base the success of a season off the wins, losses. That means you're not really in tune with where the Reds are at within this rebuild.
Right.
That's why I'm not going to come on here and preach like, oh, man, I think this team can contend for a wild card, because it's not realistic. I don't know how realistic it is for them to get to 75 wins. But to me, a realistic, successful season comes down to the development of Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft. How do those 3 players take that next step? The continued development of Jonathan India, as I mentioned earlier. One really good season, Rookie of the Year. Bad second season, banged up with injuries. If you have a bad third season, that's 2 bad seasons to only 1 good season. Now you start to have a little bit of that doubt, a little bit. That's when you start doubting. You want to see Tyler Stevenson stay healthy. He's the best Reds hitter that they have when he's in the lineup and healthy, but 3 stints on the IL last year, all coming from behind home plate, which has led to question marks about what the future should be as far as how to utilize him. One of the top catchers in baseball is the ceiling, of course, but hey, you got to keep him out on the field. You got to keep that bat in that lineup. There's a lot of things I'm going to be keeping an eye on throughout the year that doesn't necessarily always correlate to the win-loss category nonetheless. Tomorrow, opening day, Reds Pirates. And the morning starts off with Kenner and Kev, me and Kev Nash live at opening day, Great American Ballpark, presented by Frickers. Cannot wait, 8 to 10 a.m. We'll, of course, hear from David Bell. We'll hear from Hunter Green. We'll hear from various Reds players and the coaching staff, of course, coming back from spring training. The Hall of Famer, Marty Brennaman, he's going to come hang out with us for a bit. He'll zoom into the show tomorrow in video form, of course. So we're looking forward to talking with him. And I'm really looking forward to talking to our next guest. We have the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman on tomorrow, but we have the Hall of Famer Hal McCoy on with us now. How are you, sir? Welcome, Hal. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on, guys.
Well, we really made you work for it today. I mean, the phone.
A little bit of telephone problems.
We're, our phones are like the Reds of of all the radio station phones out there. It's a little bumpy sometimes, but Hal, tomorrow is Kevin and I will be down to Great American Ballpark for opening day. That'll be our first opening day experience. And, we talked with Marty Brennaman earlier today. He shared how memorable his first opening day experience was, of course. What was your first opening day experience like for the Reds?
My first opening day was 1973. This is my 50th year covering baseball. So 50 years ago is a long time. I just remember how intimidated I was, excited to become the beat writer, but I was very intimidated being a young reporter covering his first opening day. And knowing what opening day meant in Cincinnati, I mean, it's a major holiday for Reds fans. And so, I was very intimidated.
How old were you when you first started becoming a beat writer? How long did you get to just be Hal McCoy, the baseball fan, before you went right into your Hall of Fame legendary career?
Yeah, I was 33 years old when I became the beat writer. And before that, I was a huge Indians fan, of course, being from Akron, Ohio, 30 miles from Cleveland. And I remain a Cleveland Indians fan. Well, that's not the Indians, it's the Guardians, but I hate it. But anyway, I was 33 years old, but I've been a baseball fan all my life. My father was a semi-pro pitcher, and he put a baseball in my hand and a baby bottle in the other hand.
Hal, and it's funny. So the NFL, week 1 is special. The very first week of the NFL season is great for basketball fans. That first game at UD Arena after having a whole, summer off and everything, and you finally get back into the arena, it's special. College football, nothing better than being at the Shoe for the first Buckeye football game of the season. Nothing better. But baseball, with all its flaws, Major League Baseball with all of its flaws, there's not a sport out there that touches that vibe and that feel of opening day. You still get goosebumps all these years on opening day after all this time.
Especially in Cincinnati because the first franchise, I mean, where else do they have a parade for opening day than in Cincinnati? So, that's really, really special. And, baseball does it right on opening day, that's for sure.
All right, Hal, we got all the cutesy-wootsy fun stuff out of the way. Let's talk about this Reds team, shall we? How much we head into this season, Hunter Greene, the youngest pitcher in all of Major League Baseball, to have, to be out on the mound on opening day tomorrow, pretty significant there. I think that just kind of as a true reflection of where the Reds are right now in this rebuild, very young, very inexperienced. Second year for Hunter Greene. I think all eyes are going to be on him to kind of see, okay, how much of a jump did he make from 1 year to the next? Your overall takeaway of Hunter Greene being the Reds opening day starter?
Yeah, that's a big burden to put on his shoulders for a young guy. I mean, we know how much talent he has and how hard he throws, but putting him out there on opening day, I'm sure he's going to be full of butterflies. And so I would be surprised if he does well, but you never know. He does have the talent, and maybe he does have the makeup, but it's going to be a lot of pressure on him being 23 years old and pitching opening day for the oldest franchise in baseball.
It's been a while since the Reds have had a pitcher that have had this much expectations for him. Take the opening day pressure out of it. I mean, are you seeing glimpses of what all the hype is about with Hunter Greene? Do the Reds have something that could be special beyond what we've seen over we've seen Johnny Cueto. We've seen a lot of really good pitchers for the Reds over the last decade that have come up and come through. But are you seeing something from Hunter Greene that's different, especially when you add in all the hype that's surrounding this kid?
Yeah, because of his makeup and his talent. And he reminds me of a young Don Gullett. And Don Gullett turned out to be really, really special until he got hurt. And to me, he looks a lot like a right-handed Don Gullett. And the upside for him is, there's no ceiling for this kid. He lost 13 games last year, and that doesn't look good on the resume. But you have to consider who pitched behind him out of that bullpen, and that's the major concern I have this year for these three young pitchers. They're all going to be very, very good, but people shouldn't expect them to have really good records this year because they're in the infancy of this rebuild, and unfortunately, baseball doesn't have the transfer portal, so you have to build from within. You can't go to another team and say, hey, come on over here.
How with that, you're talking about Hunter Greene in the rotation, and we'll get to more of that in a second. But as far as the other side of things, as far as this lineup is concerned, I know all eyes will be on the pitching staff and how the bullpen is developed and how these, those three stars in the rotation, or young stars, if you will. But I'm trying to figure out, and I'm sure you and a lot of people are, where is the run production going to come from? Because I get this vibe that we're going to see major growth from the pitching, and it's just not going to be complemented by a lot of run support. And I feel like that's where some of the criticism is going to start to be pointed at in the early infancy stages of the season. Is that something that you've circled and saying, yeah, the run production is going to be something that's a real big pain in the butt for this team?
There's no doubt about that. The starting rotation is going to be superb, but you look at that lineup, and it's a bunch of with the Bengals it's who they, and with the Reds it's who they. The guys they have out there in the field, I don't see anybody with much power, and I don't see a whole lot of run production coming. It's a nail right on the head that this is what's going to happen. Great pitching, not so much offense.
How with the limitations of power within that lineup, of course, obviously Tyler Stevenson, if they can keep him in that lineup. I knew he missed time last year, the 3 stints on the IL, but I was like, man, I didn't realize he missed over 100 plus games. Like, that's a lot of games to miss. And that's their best power hitter as of right now. So it's interesting. This isn't going to be a team that's going to hit a lot of home runs. It might be slightly inflated just because they do play at GABP if that's the case. But I mean, with the banning of the shift, there, teams are going to become a little bit more creative with run production from that standpoint. Do you see this team being a team that's going to have to be extra creative as far as how they play small ball a little bit, something that we're going to get reintroduced to, hopefully, with the banning of the shift?
Yeah, absolutely. I am thrilled that they've banned the shift. And I like what I saw from the Reds in spring training. They tried to steal a lot of bases, and that's exactly what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go back to old school baseball and steal some bases, do some hit and runs, do some bunting, do anything they can do to get some runs scored.
David Bell last year, obviously with so many holes in the roster, and there's, all the attention on ownership after the comments that really just kind of seemed to push Reds fans over the edge last year after, moving on from Castellanos and obviously Sonny Gray and obviously Jesse Winker and a lot of fan favorites that they moved on from. Fans were finally pushed to their limits last year. There were so many things to be critical of that David Bell, I'd never really heard his name come up last year. I mean, not a whole lot has changed from last year to this year, other than there's just at least some familiarity with some of the names in this roster and rotation. I am curious though, what's on a scale of 1 to 10, I guess, what's the pressure level for David Bell this season? I don't even know how you gauge what a successful season for him is, because there shouldn't be a win-loss expectation for this type of team.
Yeah, on social media, you hear a lot of criticism of David Bell, but with, like, as I said, the rebuild being in its infancy, you surely can't hold him accountable for wins and losses. What you hold him accountable for is if this team makes progress, if the pitching improves and he makes the most of what he has. I don't think you can hold him accountable for wins and losses, because that's not the goal right now.
Hal, what are you hearing about De La Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz? I mean, this is a kid that's getting a lot of high, the guys that won't be on the opening day roster tomorrow, obviously him in AAA. I'm hearing so much about this kid. I mean, the hype is real when it comes to him, and he looks the part. I mean, he just has a lot of charisma to him. I think that, he's going to have that star power for the Reds when that time comes. What are some of the things you're hearing about the development of Ellie De La Cruz, and is this a season that we'll see any of him at all on the main roster?
Yeah, when you hear a bunch of hype about players, it usually comes within the organization. But when it comes to De La Cruz, you hear it all over baseball. Everybody who sees this kid play are really wowed about his ability and what he can do. And I sure would have liked to have seen him on the opening day roster. He's somebody that fans really want to see, and he certainly would put some fannies in the seats. But it's the old thing about holding them back for his service time. And I always hate that, but that's the way they operate these days. But I'm pretty sure you'll see him up here by May or June.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's good. So that makes me feel pretty good. But if you don't mind, I'm going to try and pretend that our listeners don't understand the service time thing. So I'm going to hide, I'm not going to admit that I don't understand the service time thing. So for the listeners that don't understand the service time thing, Hal, what I know this happened with Chris Bryant. It actually led to very bad blood between the Cubs and Chris Bryant early on when it was time to call him up years and years ago. But are you able to speak to why that is such an issue, that teams are being very stubborn when it comes to that?
Yeah, it's, to be very basic about it, it's the service time, how many days he spends in the major league. The clock doesn't start on leading up to arbitration and free agency. And the more time that they hold them down in the minors to start the clock on service time in the majors, the more they're able to keep them under control.
Okay. Simple enough. So May or June, that would be huge. Because I've always wondered that too. If Ellie De La Cruz is capable, I mean, if this is a rebuilding, stretch, then might as well take your lumps in the major leagues, right? Going up against major league pitching and all that type of stuff. But you feel like this is just mainly for the service time thing, and we should see him soon.
Absolutely. I think he's major league ready from what I have seen and what other people around baseball have seen. This guy is one of the top prospects in baseball, and he should be up here playing in the majors. He's not going to learn anything more playing at AAA. They're just delaying the fans from seeing a real star.
Wow. Hal, last thing here before we let you go, but something we're going to talk with Marty Brenneman about tomorrow when he joins us at the ballpark is, he called games for 4.5 decades. You've done this for a couple years yourself. So, I mean, you guys have seen it all and experienced it all. But I am curious from your perspective. I mean, is this the most down that the Reds fan base has been in your time covering this team? Can you think of any other stretch throughout your time covering the Reds that the fan base has been this stubborn and this frustrated? Because I can't tell you, I'm trying to sell positive energy on this show, which
Positive
is rare.
vibes.
Yeah, and that's rare for me. I get that. But no matter how hard I try, it is just hit right back at me. Line drive to the face as far as that's concerned. Fans aren't having it, Hal. They're not buying in to any kind of positivity with this team. Is this the most down you've seen this fan base in your time covering this team?
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, this is my 50th year, and I cannot recall any time where there are so many empty seats for a great franchise and so many people being negative about the team. Fans want to see winners. They don't understand the rebuild. They keep saying, the Reds have been rebuilding for a decade now, and it hasn't worked. So they have their doubts about whether this is going to work or not. And it may, and it may not. You never know. Prospects are always suspects until they prove that they can make it in the majors. But fans want to see a winner. They're paying major league money to see a major league team, and see a AAA team that's in development just doesn't sit well with them.
Are you a FanDuel or a DraftKings type of guy, Hal?
Yeah, I am.
All right, so on FanDuel, it has the Reds win-loss total at 65.5. If you're a betting man,
Right.
if you had with all the winnings from all the ponies that you bet on, I'm just curious, would you put money on the over or the under on the win total being at 65.5?
I think that I would probably go with the under. I mean, they won 62 games last year. They are not any better other than the young pitching that should improve a bit, but I'm concerned about the bullpen and the offense, and I would probably go with the under.
All right, that's that positivity we need now. Hal, you are the best. Always look forward to talking to you, and I'm excited that baseball season's back, especially because that means we get to talk to you a little bit more throughout the year. So, Hal, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Later.
There he is, the Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy. How about that? We are very fortunate to be able to have the resources to really just reach out to guys like Hal, guys like Barty, and to just kind of pick their brains on everything going on with this Reds team right now in baseball as a whole. So,
I mean, him and Shaw agree.
Oh, I'm not even checking the comment section because Shaw right now, he's pumping his chest. See, the Hall of Famer agrees with me. I mean, this is coming from Shaw, who the last time a guy had that wrong of a take, it was Mikey with the interim coach thing for Ryan Day. But all right, that's fine. I'm trying to be positive. And by the way, I'm not selling positive. I might be being a homer with the Reds. I think it's just because, to be honest, I'm not a Bengals fan. I don't know if you guys know that or not. But I've been able to witness the vibe and the energy from that city and how it bleeds over here into Dayton when the Bengals are winning. Haven't done this for 45 years like Marty. I haven't done this for 50 years like Hal. They've experienced it. I have not. And I just want to not just that good 500 season for the Reds. I want to experience that, oh my gosh, this team is good enough to win a World Series. I haven't felt that since living in Dayton. Been here for about 10 years now. I have not experienced that. I want to experience that. So maybe I'm trying to talk it into existence. So there you go. Y'all think that my dislike for the Bengals comes from my Browns fandom. It actually comes from my Reds fandom. So there you go. Thank you, Hall of Famer Hal McCoy, taking time and hanging out with us. Kidder and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's
sizes and styles in stock. Or customize your dream window any size, any shape made just for you with our Design and Buy program. Get a 24 by 24 inch sliding window for $79.99 after 11% rebate. Good through April 2nd. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
If you haven't been to Chevrolet of Troy, you have to stop in today. Selection has never been better with over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles available, in stock and ready to go. It's the best in the region. We always accept employee and supplier pricing, and we make financing easy. Customer service is our top priority because we care about you. With thousands off MSRP, a full-service, state-of-the-art dealership, and huge selection, make Chevrolet of Troy your first choice. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Progressive protects more than just your home and car. You could save when you bundle your motorcycles, ATVs, boats, and RVs. Doesn't that sound good? Like the sound of your boat cruising along the Intercoastal. And there's the sound of the prop hitting a really big rock. And now the sound of waves, because the engine stopped. But you know what does sound good? You're covered with Progressive. So bundle all your vehicles and home in one place and save with the multi-policy discount. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly. Protect your engine better with new Syntec Full Synthetic High Mileage Motor Oil only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec High Mileage is formulated for today's engines with over 75,000 miles. Now get 5 quarts of Syntec High Mileage and a MicroGuard Select oil filter for just $34.99. Limits apply. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
What if I told you, in Iran, women are banned from going to soccer games?
Mom, take the ball. I love you.
For 43 years, Iranian women have fought back.
Police pushed us.
Troops. This is their story.
The joy was forbidden.
What is the meaning of that?
That is how they control you.
I'm Shimol Yai. Listen to the new 30 for 30 podcast, Pink Card. Available now.
Progressive protects more than just your home and car. You could save when you bundle your motorcycles, ATVs, boats, and RVs. Doesn't that sound good? Like the sound of your boat cruising along the Intercoastal. And there's the sound of the prop hitting a really big rock. And now the sound of waves, because the engine stopped. But you know what does sound good? You're covered with Progressive. So bundle all your vehicles and home in one place and save with the multi-policy discount. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
If you need to hire, you need Indeed. With Indeed, you can attract, screen, and interview candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Kinner and Kev, live from opening day, presented by Frickers, this Thursday morning at 8 a.m., right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. How about this? So Centerville is playing in this showcase, and they have to go by the Ville, the high school basketball team. Okay, they just had state tournament. They lost. One of the best state basketball games I've seen in a while between them and Pick Central. Their season came to an end of the state tournament, but technically it didn't because they playing in some invitation over in Georgia right now, and it's an unsanctioned event, so they can't go by Centerville. So they're going by the Ville, but they're playing on NBA TV right now. So,
really?
We do not want you. I mean, no, it's going to air later today. You keep it locked in here to 1410 Wing AM. But I
got to take a call in the hallway, Kenner. I'll be right back.
Yeah, but on NBA TV right now,
how cool is that?
Centerville's high school basketball team. They're going by the Ville, by the way, because it's not a sanctioned event. Just keep that in mind. But they're on NBA TV right now. It's currently 18-all. Jonathan Powell just had a huge dunk to start the second quarter. And this was tweeted out about, 20 minutes ago. So it's probably close to halftime, if not halftime already. But I thought that was pretty neat. That was pretty neat. So,
nice.
I haven't heard of those types of tournaments of teams being knocked out of state and then going on and continuing to play. We've seen weird stuff with COVID, like years ago when they did the shorter season. They did 8 games or something like that. And then, but you're allowed to play up to 10. So you would have teams that would lose in week 9, which was week 1 of the playoffs. And then after being knocked out of the playoffs, they would then play another game the following week. It was the wildest thing that schools still did that. But yeah, it's always strange.
Yeah, state of California does something similar to that, where if you're not out in your region, if you have enough points, you still get to play in a different region to try to win state tournaments. So yeah, like different states have different rules. I mean, obviously being born and raised here, I'm so used to hearing it one way, like, hey, you lose and it's over. And we have D1, D2, D3, D4, and everything like that. But, and Texas, they have Class A and AA and AAA and all that type of stuff. So, you travel around the country, you'll find out they do a whole lot of different things around here.
Yeah. So how about this? Here's a name I haven't heard in a while. NBA fans, Mark Madsen.
Mad Dog.
Mark Madsen. How about this? But Cal has agreed to a deal with Utah Valley's coach, Mark Madsen. Sources told Stadium. It's basically been done for days in principle. Madsen would have gone to his alma mater, Stanford, but it didn't open, and Cal made him the priority after missing on Randy Bennett. This is from Jeff Goodman. But
went to the rival.
And there you go. Played with the Timberwolves and the Lakers. I'm sure a couple others, but I remember him with the Timberwolves and the Lakers during that stretch. So
2 rings, 2 chips with the Lakers.
That's all that matters. So there you go. But to answer earlier, we had asked about, worst to first in baseball. It didn't ever happen, but Scott Campbell came through in the clutch. He goes, the 1990 to 91 Braves went worst to first with little roster changes, but you may want to have Shaw check the tapes on that one. Oh man, Scott Campbell from the top rope. I didn't even know this was a shot at Shaw until after reading it, but this is well done. So Scott Campbell, Kev, says the 90-91 Braves went worst to first with little roster changes, but you may want to have Shaw check the tapes on that one as he records his sports to watch later. So, man, talk about a spoiler alert. How do you know if he hadn't got to the 90s Braves season yet?
Scott, my goodness.
Rude.
That is hilarious.
So there's that. But Doug Toby comes in. It's 41-26, the Ville at the half. So, oh, wow. It was 18-all, and they just pulled away in that second quarter. They must have had a big second quarter.
Let's go.
So there's that. Steve Stetler says, give the Bengal talk a rest, Toby. Man. But nonetheless, but 518-1410, 518-1410. If you need to go get that, go do your thing. We'll see what's happening there. But nonetheless. All right. So earlier today, this had kind of come out. It was kind of interesting because we're trying to stay on the baseball side of the conversation here today for sure. But I did get this sent to me. It was put out in the Bengals Facebook page. Okay. And the one thing that was most fascinating to me about this was the win-loss totals. We're talking about the win-loss totals for the Reds today, but there was the win-loss totals that came out for, according to FanDuel and DraftKings and some of the other sports books out there, for the NFL season coming up. All right. And the question was, and it was on the Bengals Facebook page, it was, which team is a lock to hit their over? All right. And the win totals. Now, Steve Stetler, you talked about what Doug Toby just mentioned a little bit ago about the win-loss total being the Browns at 8.5. So the win totals for the AFC North from FanDuel have the Bengals at 11.5. the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers all at 8.5. And I get it. Everyone wants to have fun and poke at that, and that's totally fine. I'm not one to usually argue with Vegas. However, I don't think I'm being that much of a homer here whenever you listen to the question or pay attention to how the question was formatted and presented. The question was, which team is a lock to hit their over? The Bengals are an 11.5. The Browns 8.5. Ravens 8.5. Steelers 8.5. I think the Steelers are an 8 to 9 win team. I think there's a good chance that they could, hit the over. Okay. The Ravens, they don't even know who their quarterback is. And the Ravens, even with their quarterback, despite the fact that they do win a lot of football games, I think that even if they get him back, I think things are going to be so rocky right now that I don't see how the Ravens are going to win 9 football games in 2023. I just don't see how that's going to be the case. I don't see how they head into next season and act as if all of this drama, all of this beef just never happened. I don't see that happening. All right. Then you look at the fact that the Cleveland Browns also with the win total of 8.5, I think that they are easily the lock, the biggest lock, the easiest lock of all the win totals here to get the over. All right. The question was, which team is a lock to hit their over? The Bengals at 11.5 or the Browns at 8.5? I think right now the Cincinnati Bengals, who won 13 games or 14 games, 13 games last year. Look, this is a team that is worse now than what they were a year ago. And when I say worse, I don't think the Bengals are bad. I just think that they're vulnerable. I think that the Bengals are more vulnerable on the defensive side of the ball, which means that when there were some offensive sputters, if you will, all right, remember at the beginning of the season when Joe Burrow started slow and the offense started slow, the defense had to win them football games or keep them in football games. That's the thing. As great as Joe Burrow is and as electric as this offense is, as of right now, this offense is going to have to carry this football team because even as good as the defense was last year for the Cincinnati Bengals, statistically, a middle-of-the-pack defense. Not elite, not great, not bad, but this team is not great anymore. They're not elite anymore. They're not middle of the pack anymore. You lost Von Bell. You lost Jesse Bates. There's no way you're going to convince me that all of a sudden that you are better. I don't know when Awuzi's going to come back. I think that's going to, when Cheeto comes back, I don't know what's going to happen with that. As of right now, I think that the Bengals are still going to, I think there's a good chance they win more than 11 games. And I put that on the Facebook post. I feel like they're going to win more than 11 games this year. I think they're going to be in that 12, 13 win range, just like last year. I think that's who they are. But I also think that until I see otherwise, that Joe Burrow and this Bengal offense and this Bengals team, they have been slow starters under Zach Taylor since they've got this thing rolling. Now, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I get that. But how you finish obviously would be a lot better if you had a hotter start to the season. The one thing I want to see from Cincinnati, and I do think we need to see the schedule, kind of come out a little bit. We know who the opponents are. We need to see, we know who the opponents are, but we need to kind of see what, the order of which they're going to play some of these teams. And I would like to see what that first half of the schedule is going to look like for them. But yes, so which one is a lock? The Bengals at 11.5. I think there's a good chance that they win more than 11 games. But at the same time, their defense is worse than a year ago. All right, their defense is worse than it was a year ago. The defense almost lost. Yes, it was, I'm going to leave it at that. The Bengals, they will win more than 11 games, but I don't think that says much of a lock is saying that the Browns are going to win more than 8 games next year. The Cleveland Browns won 8 games 2 years ago. They won 7 games last year. They won 8 games 2 years ago with multiple games, having multiple full position groups out because of the COVID outbreaks, right? You can ring the excuse bell you want. That's fine. So there's that. Last year, of course, you have the suspension of Deshaun Watson. He's out for the first 11 games of the season, right? And they were horrible defensively, especially up front. No pass rush outside of Myles Garrett, okay? They won 8 games 2 years ago, 7 last year with all of those deficiencies combined. If you take your Browns hater cap off and actually look at what they did this offseason, when you look at how they revamped that defensive line, you look at what they did in the secondary, you look at the fact that they've been able to fine-tune a lot of holes on that defensive side of the roster, I think, and then the full year with Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at these win-loss totals, and I'm saying that, yes, out of all the teams right now, with as far as the win total is concerned, which one is more of a lock than any? Cleveland at 8.5, that's more of a lock than Cincinnati at 11.5. That's not a shot at Cincinnati. I said I feel like they're going to win more than 11 games. But I don't think that's more of a guarantee or a lock than Cleveland winning more than 8 when this is a roster that is significantly better than the last 2 years when they had already won respectively 8 and 7 games. Actually, not respectively. They were underperforming teams the last 2 years. So, yeah, I'd take the over as far as that's concerned. I think Cleveland is the more guaranteed lock of that over as far as that's concerned. But it's wild. You have Cincinnati, you have Cleveland. I think the AFC North, it's going to go between those two teams, but you always have that wild card in Pittsburgh just kind of lurking in the background. And the next thing you know, you think, oh, man, they're not playing well. They don't look good. And then there's Pittsburgh, 8-9 wins in the season, competing for a playoff spot when it's all said and done. So you can't rule them out as far as that's concerned. Baltimore, what a mess. What a mess. I don't know what's going to happen as far as what's next with Lamar Jackson or anything along those lines, but there you go. All right, so Kev Nash, he's going to come back on with us here next part of the show, but give us a call, 518-1410, 518-1410, Kinner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
When our students have the resources and opportunities they need to reach their full potential, our state is a stronger, better place for all of us. We must ensure our public tax dollars are used as they should be to fund the public schools that serve 90% of Ohio's children. Tell your lawmakers to fully fund the Fair School Funding Plan now.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
With over 15 years of experience as your local lawn health provider, Lawn Plus knows what it takes to provide a thick, healthy lawn. We offer fertilization and weed control programs, aeration and seeding, as the best defense against weeds is a thick turf. If your current lawn care company is providing 6 to 8 applications, that is far too many. We offer the highest quality products and service to get the best results in just 4 applications a year. Call us today at 937-839-LAWN, and remember, if you give a weed an inch, it'll take a yard.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Here at Roosters, we're not just a fun casual joint. We're a family. No matter who we are serving, our guests or our community, we strive to better the lives of those around us. Whether it's aiding in the battle against cancer, helping to educate the next generation, or simply putting a smile on someone's face, the Roosters Foundation has helped raise over $1 million annually for local charities. Our community has given us so much. This is the least we can do. Roosters, we're a fun casual joint, but so much more.
Discover credit cards do something awesome at the end of your first year. They automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right. Everything you've earned doubled. See terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for greatest of all time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
Jeff Graham.
Trotwood's coach, okay.
Trotwood coach, Jefferson County, and I always, I'm supposed to get out there later in the springtime. I'm going to come see him later in the spring, but I used to spend a lot of time when we played together at the Jets in Dayton, Ohio with him. I'm familiar with Bob Evans, as I always tease him. But, man, only good food place y'all got out there. Bob Evans.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. whether you're at home, at work, or in your car. Tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Hour 2 off and rolling here on a Wednesday. Right? It is Wednesday. Yeah.
It is.
Because tomorrow's Thursday and tomorrow is
opening day.
Tomorrow is opening day. We'll get to the Guardians over-unders coming up here in just a moment. I want to pick up with this real quick. Closing thoughts on this topic at hand. Kev he had to pop out quick, so he didn't get to chime in on this.
Okay.
So the Cincinnati Bengals Facebook page earlier today had kind of put this out. Speaking of win-losses when it comes to the Reds and the Guardians in Major League Baseball, as of right now, here are what the Vegas odds are for the win-loss, totals, for the win totals for the AFC North teams next year. So the way they shaped the question was, which team is a lock to hit their over? All right, so they have the Bengals win total at 11.5. And then they have the Browns, Ravens, and Steelers all at 8.5.
Wow.
So right away, Bengals fans wanted to get my take on the Browns being put into the basement with the other two teams and tied at 8.5, yada, yada. For one, that did surprise me a little bit. I will say that. I will be honest. I think that the Browns, you asked me to guess, I would have said that 10 to 10.5. I would have put that 10.5 win total is where I would have put them at. Even at 9.5 would have been a little bit more realistic. But I mean, this 8.5 thing is just kind of interesting to me, especially because, okay, it's one thing if it's Browns 8.5, but it's because they have the Ravens and the Steelers there at 8.5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was, which team is a lock to hit their over? Now, Browns or Bengals fans are used to me trolling, and that's absolutely not what I'm doing in this particular case, mainly because I think that the Bengals are very good, and I do think there's a good chance that they win more than 11 games. I think that they should hit their over. I mean, what did they win last year? I think they won 12 games last year. I mean,
I believe so.
I think that was they were a 12-5 team last year.
Yeah, 12-4.
12-4. So they're, or 12-5 or whatever.
Yeah,
12.
bad,
yeah, either way. So as we sit here right now, I don't think, yes, they should win more than they won, or more than that 11.5 win total right there. My only hesitation with that is the fact that, yes, they should. I need to see when the schedule comes out, the order of which they play teams, because I do think that matters. That definitely matters. And then obviously, it's the fact that I think their defense is worse than it was a year ago. And I shouldn't say worse, like as in they're bad, but they're not as good as they were a year ago. So that margin for error, that puts more pressure on the offense, which I don't think Joe Burrow is afraid of that. He's one of the, not cocky in a bad way, but he's one of the most confident quarterbacks in the NFL. He embraces the challenge of overcoming bad offensive lines, overcoming a bad defense when that time comes. So again, I do think that they win more than 11.5, but I don't think it's as much of a lock as what I think Cleveland winning more than 8.5 games is, because Kev, they won 8 games 2 years ago with a worse roster than this one.
Right.
And they won 8 games and then 7 games last year with the worst roster. And they could have won more last year, but they didn't. That's the point, though. This defense, I don't think people have realized how much they fine-tuned this defense. And this defense is going to fix a lot of the problems that they had a year ago, especially their ability to stop the run. That was one thing that was just horrendous about them. And then you got, of course, Deshaun Watson for an entire offseason, full preseason, and hopefully ready to rock by week 1, barring any kind of injuries, knock on wood. That goes for any team out there. So I said, I think Cleveland, I'm more confident that they are a guaranteed lock at that win total being 8.5 than the Cincinnati Bengals. That's not hating on the Bengals. I just think that, hey, that win total is pretty low for me when you are supposed to have a elite franchise quarterback. You look at the run game, you look at the offensive line, you look at the pass catchers that they were able to go out and get this offseason, and then all the stuff that they did to complement it on the defensive side of the ball. And don't forget special teams, because that gets overlooked as well. So yes, I think that the Browns are more of a lock to hit their over as far as the win total is concerned than the Bengals or anyone else. That's not a shot at anyone else. I'm just saying I think that win total is pretty low.
I'm going to be very vanilla. It's harder to get to 12 wins than it is harder to get to 9 wins.
You said it quickly.
That's just as simple as it's going to get for me. The Cincinnati Bengals could win 11 games and be under their total and still make the playoffs. But I think the Cleveland Browns will get to 9 wins plus. So I would go with the Browns.
Ha! No, you did answer that very vanilla. And I get it. You're a Steelers fan. You did that very politically, by the way. I mean, you can run for office. I mean,
Thank you.
That was very well done.
I'll fix this country.
Yeah. Country. There we go. That's all right. So Kelsey Conway, another Bengals topic here. I thought this was kind of strange. Orlando Brown was the biggest offseason free agent signing, in my opinion. Not only is a hot take, he was the number one free agent heading into the offseason. The Bengals got him, surprised everyone, surprised even Bengals fans. Okay. Like there are teams that you knew would be aggressive in the offseason. The Bengals had kind of let their fans know that, hey, we're going to be more about, retaining the talent that we have internally than we are going to be adding talent externally. So if they did add talent, you would think it would be the mid-tier to below mid-tier, guys just to plug some holes. The last thing, even the biggest Homer Bengals fans expected was them to go out and get Orlando Brown. Kudos to them. They did that. Okay. It was shocking to a lot of people, but apparently, Kev, it was the most shocking, not to any of our Bengals fan listeners, not to me, the biggest Bengals hater out there, not to you, the Steelers fan that tries to stay right down the middle every time. Apparently, the guy that was the most surprised about the Bengals going to get Orlando Brown was Jonah Williams.
Yeah, I saw that.
And all I could do was, so I have this beagle and I love my beagle. Her name is Macy. She's adorable. And she turns her head sideways like this. Now I'm not as adorable as my beagle, but when I read this, I turned my head sideways just like this, just like my dog does. I'm like, wait a minute. He felt blindsided, according to Kelsey Conway, which, by the way, I tweeted this out earlier. The irony in a Bengals offensive lineman feeling blindsided is just, it's comical to me and very ironic, but he felt blindsided by this. And my thinking is no offense, but there is not one Bengals offensive lineman that is good enough to feel blindsided by having their position upgraded by any means. I'm sorry, but Jonah Williams, you are not good enough to have these type of headlines to demand a trade. I thought that was cute. I thought it was adorable. Jonah Williams demanding a trade. This is not Bengals hate, folks. I'm just saying, and to be fair, a lot of Bengals fans agreed with me on the post today. Like, he is not good enough for this type of attention that he is bringing upon himself, being very dramatic. I was blindsided that they didn't even let me know. You were not good enough for the front office to involve you in these types of decisions, especially no brain. What were you going to say? No, don't go get Orlando Brown. I promise I'll try harder. No, pass. The Bengals did the right thing here, and it pains me that I have to say that, but I'm just kind of amused by Jonah Williams in this situation. I just, like I said, he's just not good enough to be making this type of noise. That's all.
Absolutely. The Bengals should have went out there and got Orlando Brown Jr. 100%. But I do believe, not to say like they should have contacted him prior to, like, hey, we're about to try to sign him, but just kind of like a heads up. And I understand that's not how things work in the sports world. They like to keep everything undercover and everything like that. But like when the signing, like when he agreed and the signing is about to go out, dial up his agent. Like, hey, just a heads up. We signed Orlando Brown Jr. We're planning to try to move you over to the right side tackle or whatever. Just transparency and with your team. And I know you get more transparency, the better player you are. But I would have preferred that. I would have liked to see that from a team. But, I don't think he understands most players don't get that type of transparency unless you are Tom Brady, unless you are Patrick Mahomes, unless you are one of these like storied names in NFL. Most dudes are cut in the middle of the night. Like, look at the guys in the NBA. Like, they're finding out they're getting traded at halftime lots of times. So you're not special in that realm that you deserve or that you're going to get that type of heads up.
So, and by the way, and again, this is where I put my just regular person cap on, and I don't feel bad for athletes in these situations. He felt blindsided because not only did they go get Orlando Brown, that the team did not even tell him ahead of time that they were thinking of moving him to right tackle to begin with. So, for instance, for regular people jobs out there, my boss, and by the way, in media, there's always that saying out there, not really a saying, but a philosophy that you're fired a year before it actually happens. Because in this type of industry, you have to have a plan and you have to have all your ducks in a row, because you can't just eliminate, unless it's very, very bad. You can't just eliminate someone and have no answer to fill that spot. Right. So if my boss came in here this next commercial break and said, Kenner, I need you to come with me real quick. We're going to give you no, I'm just joking. No, Kenner, come here real quick. Look, we're not letting you go, but you're no longer going to be hosting afternoons. In fact, you're just going to be doing some commercials for us. You're just going to be doing production for us and all that type of stuff. That happens in our line of work. And although we would love transparency and all that stuff, and I completely get that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
That's not the reality.
Yeah, in our industry, and really any industry out there. And by the way, if you are a business owner and you do provide that type of transparency, kudos to you. You don't have to do that, but you do. That's awesome. And for those who don't do it, yes, we would love that as regular, just old employees, but technically you're not wrong, because it's your business and you got to keep stuff bottled up and make sure everything's ducks in a row, blah, blah, blah. But with this, I'm sorry, but to say, that they didn't tell him, or that they didn't tell him that they were planning on doing this. Well, you didn't tell them that you were going to be injured for 75% of the time that you were going to be on this roster. You didn't tell them that you were going to be one of the many failed experiments on that offensive line before they finally had to say, God, now we got to go get Lyle Collins. We got to get Orlando Brown. We got to get Kappa. We got to get Karras. We got all that. Like, if it would be one thing, by the way, so here are the guys that I felt bad for from the Bengals. And by the way, this isn't a Bengals thing, but it is. The Bengals they weren't even very upfront with Andy Dalton, who Andy Dalton should mean a lot more to this organization than Jonah Williams. They didn't even keep Andy Dalton in the loop as far as what their plans were. Now, again, you can connect dots. Andy Dalton probably could connect dots, but he was frustrated that at the trade deadline that last year he was with Cincinnati. No, that's what it was. They benched him right after the trade deadline. They benched him and said they were going to go with the backup quarterback who was a rookie at the time, and Brandon Allen, I think, or whatever his name was. So they announced that Andy Dalton was going to be benched and that they were going to go with the rookie quarterback, who I believe they traded up to the third round that year or whatever to get. And Andy Dalton was furious. He goes, if they would have and I remember him and his agent releasing this statement that if they would have been upfront with us, we could have tried to facilitate a trade to get me to a contender or to get me to a spot where I could start. Wasn't mad that you're moving on, but he was mad that they didn't keep him in the loop. And Andy Dalton, with all his flaws, still brought more wins and was more successful at his position than Jonah Williams is. And if they didn't give him that type of trade, they're not going to give you. AJ Green was another one. I like AJ Green. I compared him to Joey Votto as far as not having that competitive bone, as far as like never holding ownership's feet to the fire of like, hey, we got to be winning. We got to be making moves to better our team. But he was another one that felt like kind of blindsided. Like, hey, he kept saying over and over, I want to stay in Cincinnati. I want to be a Cincinnati Bengal. I want to stay here. And they did not keep him in the loop as far as what their plans were going to be. And they basically did to him what they did to Jesse Bates. I'm long-winded on this, but the point is the Bengals aren't wrong for that approach, because that's how every team pretty much is. Colleges are even worse. By the way, they're more sneaky as far as how they go about their stuff. So I say all of that because more talented, successful people have been blindsided by their organizations than Jonah Williams, which is why I find this just comical.
I think another thing is blindsided by saying, hey, man, we're not cutting you. We're switching you to the right side. That means you still have a job.
Congratulations.
A job that we think that you'll be better at, that you'll excel at, as opposed to protecting the blind side of Joe Burrow. And there's no doubt of anybody out there that Orlando Brown is a better offensive lineman than you. And he's a better left tackle than you. And he's not even the best left tackle in the NFL. So for me, that's the problem. Like, wait a minute, hold on. We could just cut you and move completely on. So you requested a trade. Okay. You're not going to show up in camp and compete for the right tackle position. I doubt it. I think you're going to be there. I mean, you don't have a tag number of $32 million like a Lamar Jackson. So you're probably making, I don't know how much he's making, maybe $10 million, something like that. You probably need that bread. So he'll be there if they don't trade him.
Yeah, because see, this is the thing, like with the Bengals, and they have to be more tight with their money than most because, so you have Joe Mixon, who's going to be making $12.5 for a declining running back, or at least his role has been diminished the last couple of years. And despite talent, his role's been diminished. He's not out there in high leverage, crucial situations in ball games. That's a lot of money to pay a running back at that a lot of money to be paid to Jonah Williams as well, which is also why his trade value is not very good. So he demanded a trade. They've been shopping him. No one's biting. No one. I mean, I mean, how Bobby Hart and some of these other guys that they've been able to get pieces for in years past. I mean, hoofa. There you go. Last thing on the Bengals here. Katie Blackburn. It's interesting. So she meets with the media about once a year, and it's usually at these owners' meetings. Okay, she doesn't meet with media often. She doesn't do a lot of appearances and stuff. She's killing it with the Bengals. You started hearing so much more of it's not a coincidence that as the Bengals their success started taking off, it's right when she got more responsibility in that front office. So kudos to her. Duke Tobin gets his name put on a lot of success. Obviously, he's the makeshift GM, if you will, but Blackburn, she plays a huge role in how Katie plays a huge role in what's going on there. But the one thing that was talked about a lot before the Bengals really took off was the concern and the fear of PayCor Stadium, which it wasn't PayCor at the time, but Paul Brown Stadium at the time, of the lease in 2026. If you guys remember, before all the talk of the Bengals was Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Burr and all this stuff, and back-to-back AFC champs and back-to-back AFC championship games and nearly won a Super Bowl. Before all of that, remember what a lot of the talk was out of Cincinnati? It was the typical, oh my God, are we ever going to win again? And it was, man, are we even going to be able to keep our team in Cincinnati? Do you guys recall that years ago? That's what was being talked about today as far as the future of PayCor Stadium. And it's not just the Bengals. The Browns are going through this too, as far as whether they want to build a dome or they want to just renovate, their stadium over in Cleveland, which it sounds like, and by the way, the house, I'm still concerned about money. That's why they're just going to renovate, the old stadium as far as that's concerned. But yes, we did kind of forget about the concerns with the lease for now PayCor Stadium in downtown Cincinnati. I am fascinated to see what's going to end up happening there. Now, it does help, Kev, that they're winning now.
Yeah.
If you do, if there's going to be an increase in taxes locally to help pay and fund this, it's going to be a much more positive feedback from the fans and from that community now than what it would have been 4 years ago. So they're lucky. The timing of Joe Burrow, the timing of winning could not have come at a better time for them if that's going to end up being the case as far as who's going to fund this. I think the Bengals are very fortunate that that's the case. That's for sure.
Absolutely. People are more adept to give money to a winner than a loser. I guarantee you right now, if the Cincinnati Reds were trying to get a new stadium right now, people would be open arms. But since the Bengals are winning right now, they're talking about a new stadium. People are like, all right, okay, fine. Let taxes go up a 0.5% or whatever the case may be. When you're a loser, nobody wants to give you money. And that's why it is so difficult in college sports where you're a basement program. You're never going to build up because the ones with the money always got the money. So that's why Vanderbilt will never win a national championship. That is exactly why. They'll never be from the bottom to the top. It's just not going to happen. But in the NFL, it's such a quick turnaround if you get the right coach, if you get the right quarterback, you get the right playmakers. You don't even have to be going to AFC championship games. You could at least be just going to the playoffs and scaring teams in the playoffs, and people will be willing to cough up some money because everybody wants to be a part of a winner.
So, and absolutely. And you want the community to feel like they're a part of something.
Exactly.
If you're losing a lot, and the criticisms of Mike Brown was, well, you're not investing into this team, but you want us to invest into a stadium for you to continue not investing into the team, that they're going to get a lot more positive feedback now. But there's a lot of people, by the way, we live in this world where we think that every person that we come in contact with is sports fans. It's not the case. And I would love to know, and I don't know this off the top of my head, the population of these cities, like what's the percentage of sports fans, or even, I mean, it's not just sports fans. You got to shrink it down to NFL fans. And it's not just NFL fans, to be fair, because there are concerts there. There's entertainment that goes there. So there's that aspect of it too. But in this long-winded quote from Katie Blackburn today, I don't know what to make of this, because I don't know if this sounds like a plan or not. This sounds like a lot of hoping, Kev. This is why I would say keep an eye on this, because this was a major concern years ago. Because that was one of the main things to talk about. There's been a lot more for the Bengals to talk about, so now it's been put on the back burner. But listen to this, Cap. So she goes on to say that we are actually talking about the Bengals and improving PayCor Stadium. We are actually going in and doing some improvements a little bit this year ourselves. Oh my gosh. And hopefully This is what I mean by hopefully. It doesn't sound like a plan. Hope is not a plan. She goes, and hopefully that sends a message that we're willing to invest a little bit of our own here now and hope that we can take a look at the whole lease situation with the county and get something that would make the lease situation settled or a while and work well for the county and us. And hopefully, tired of hearing that word, hopefully, and hopefully do it without having to be, I hope, once again, we can do it in a positive way that sends a positive message. This is all mumbo jumbo. None of this makes sense. I'm not trying to be negative here. Because, by the way, the Browns are in a weird situation, too, where despite their fans being excited about what's to come, they're not happy with the Browns' approach to the new stadium as well. So this isn't me beating up on the Bengals only. The Browns, they're in the same boat. And they're actually, I think it's worse for the Browns than the Bengals, because I think Bengals fans understand that the Brown family, they're not like just, it's not raining money for them to be able to go put a new stadium. The Haslams brag about their money all the time.
Right.
They buy the Bucks. They buy a stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. They buy the soccer team over in Columbus. They, you know what I mean? They spend their money everywhere. Okay. That's why it's like you can't, we don't have money to do this, but yet you're buying everything, which is your money. Do what you got to do, but don't make us pay for it if that's the case. It's a lot of mumbo jumbo in there. It's a lot of I hope. It's a lot of I hope. Basically, what I'm getting is, well, we're going to make some minor changes out of our own money up front to kind of show good faith towards the county.
Right.
That, hey, we're investing too, so you guys should invest as well. That sounds like that's their plan, but when you hear the word hope a lot, that doesn't sound like a plan.
Yeah, it's getting out in front of the fans and saying, hey, we're doing our part. Now it's up to the city to do their part.
Yep.
I know I talk about this all the time and how much I think that I'm not the biggest Dallas Cowboys fan in the world or a Jerry Jones fan, but he put his money where his mouth is. He wanted Jerry World. He put up big money. And yeah, the taxpayers footed a big bill of it, but he footed a lot of that money. And when you are part of the NFL and we got the Washington Commanders potentially being sold for over $6 billion, y'all got it, man. Y'all got it. So come with it. Come with the money, and then the citizens will kick in the other half. Or I think it should be almost to a 60-40 split. Maybe even a 70-30 split between the guys that own the team and the citizens. Because like you said, not everybody is going to that stadium. I know people that lived in Cincinnati their entire life that have never been to Paul Brown Stadium. They've never been to a football game. They've never been to Cincinnati Music Festival. They've never been down there for anything because they're not a sports fan. And you're making them pay for something that they're not going to partake in. This isn't a parking lot. This isn't a museum that's gonna for the arts or anything like that. It's a football stadium. It's a football stadium, dude. So for me, if you can charge taxpayers an arm and a leg to build a football stadium, all that money you're building a football stadium with, where's the money going to schools and things of that nature? There's a lot other more important things to do with taxpayers' money than build a football stadium. So that's why I will always be on the side of the taxpayers, where the owners should be footing majority of the bill.
All right. So Nick, thank you. So real quick, Nick chimed in a little bit ago. We talked about cutting potentially Jonah Williams. He said Williams $12.6 million fully guaranteed this year, so they're not cutting him.
Shout out to your fully guaranteed contract.
So there's that. But like fully guaranteed, and again, this is just a portion of that contract and all that stuff. But like, you know, we talk about Watson. You know, if you have to trade him later, you're assuming you're trading a still talented quarterback that can go somewhere that could use his services now because they're about to rebuild. Well, the Bengals aren't rebuilding, but he's not good enough. They don't want to pay him that fully guaranteed money to stay there and be average to below average for him. But no one else is going to take on that full guaranteed $12 million for him to go be average over there either.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think that wiser heads will prevail with Jonah Williams. He'll show up to camp in July. He'll compete for the right tackle position. Or shoot, who knows? Lyle Collins might magically heal himself and be playing that right tackle position, and Jonah Williams could be playing guard. You could have a monster offensive line. Imagine that big mofo at right guard. You know what I'm saying? So all hope isn't lost. I mean, I get it. I totally understand, because you take a situation like Orlando Brown Jr. He wanted to play left tackle. He couldn't play left tackle for the Ravens because they had an all-pro left tackle for them. He wanted to play left tackle, so they traded him and he wanted a new contract. And obviously left tackles make more money than right tackles. He went to Kansas City won himself a Super Bowl playing left tackle. They say, hey, man, you're better at right tackle. Well, guess what? The Cincinnati Bengals said, hey, man, you can come play left tackle for us, and we give you a whole bunch of money to go with it. So different strokes for different folks, lots of money out there. But guess what, Jonah Williams? You're not going to be ever as good as Orlando Brown, who is just a good left tackle. He's not great. He's not Trent Williams out there in San Francisco. He's not going to be wearing a gold jacket one day. He's not that, but he's good. He's better than you. So be a good teammate and show up on the right side and hopefully get your team back to the AFC Championship game, and maybe y'all can win the Super Bowl.
I'm a Jonah Williams. You know what I'd say? Don't swing and miss a fourth time.
Oh, gosh.
Yesterday, by the way, I forgot my ADD, the Tate Martell thing. We were talking, of course, about Miami. I'm like, oh, yeah, the house that Tate Martell built.
Oh.
I just wasn't quick enough on my feet. I'm slowing down. Deborah Gall says, what are you talking about? Ridiculous comments. Deborah, if you're talking about the very childish comments being made from another individual in here, I just need to block them from this. Ignore those comments. Ignore that individual, please. My apologies for the way that individual is acting. So my bad on that. Nick on Facebook says, sounds like the county still might be mad that the Bengals have still not shared what the PayCor deal was. Man, I need to look more into what's all going on with this. Nick, you see, so Nick says, Kev, sounds like the county is that they still might be mad that the Bengals have still not shared what the PayCor deal was. I mean, this is where things get dicey because the county's going to be like, well, if you just got this influx of money for the PayCor deal,
right?
Why aren't you making that a priority? Well, because there's a certain name, Joseph Burrow, that money was coming in for. That, like, this could get dicier. That's all. Like, if the county sees you got an influx of money for that stadium naming rights deal, and apparently they're not telling them the details. I have no clue, but like
I have no idea how that works.
So yeah, either do I. And we'll get someone on. And Nick, thank you. For
That's a great point.
Yeah,
like because the counties are like, wait, you're getting a fat check from them. Obviously, we know a chunk of it is going to be going to the quarterback, but where's the rest of it going? Is it going to the bottom line? Is it going to your pockets? Is it going to where's it going? Because if you got it, you need to spend it.
That's true. Because you know what, Joe Burrow, the St. Louis Bengals, I mean, gotta be careful.
Well, not going to St. Louis because they didn't get a stadium out there either. That's why they left St. Louis again.
Yeah, but they see XFL sell it out over there. So maybe they have changed a little heart, change of cash.
Man.
All right. 518-1410. Let's close out this conversation with a call. Who we got, Kevin?
We got Reggie and Xenia.
Reggie and Xenia. How are you, sir?
Good. How you guys doing, man? I haven't got a chance to call in a few weeks.
Doing good.
How are you?
Good. Hey, Kev, first off, I wanted to chime in on the Bengals O-line talk. I had a bold prediction for you guys. First, I wanted to push back on Kev for a sec because normally I agree with everything you say, but I think Orlando Brown potentially might be a gold jacket guy. I mean, 4 Pro Bowls in 5 years, 4 straight years. He's the only tackle in the league. He's made a Pro Bowl both left and right tackle. That's a pretty good start to a career for potential Hall of Fame material.
No doubt, no doubt.
But anyways, I wanted to give you guys a bold prediction. Maybe I'll call in after the draft. But I actually don't think Jonah Williams or La'el Collins will be playing right tackle when the season starts.
I know La'el Collins. Aren't they about to cut him?
Yeah, I
think
they're
going to report they're going to cut him.
Yeah, they're going to end up cutting Collins. And I read somewhere, I know Jonah's guaranteed, like you said, I think it's 12.6, 12.9, something like that. But I think more often than not, once the player requests we trade, you guys know how the league goes. Things kind of spiral from there. I think Frank Pollock likes Jonah a lot, but I don't think he's going to be the starter come week 1. I actually think, and this is my bold prediction, if you look back at the Bengals drafts with Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill and then Joe Mixon, the years within the past 8 years, every time the Bengals have needed to add depth at running back, they've moved back in the draft out of the first round. So I think the Bengals are going to move back from 28 and get a running back. And then I think they're immediately following going to go tackle. And I think that kid's going to end up, hopefully they're going to land someone, because I think in that we're talking about the end of the first to the beginning of the third, I think a lot of those linemen are pretty similar. And I think Duke and them are going to try to find a guy. And I think that's going to end up being the guy day one. I think it's going to be either a free agent or someone they draft. And they'll move back and get a running back in round 2.
Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're gonna have to get get creative. Because the tight end, I know they really want that tight end out of Notre Dame, and I keep seeing that in a lot of random mock drafts for the Bengals. I also don't see that tight end staying on the board. Was it Mayer?
Michael Mayer. Yeah,
I don't see Mayer being on the board that long. I don't see Bijan Robinson being on the board that long. So do the Bengals, who usually aren't that creative on draft night, do they, like you just said, Reggie, do they get creative and trade back and create some extra picks, or do they just settle for whatever player from what position group that they need is there available at 28? I'm really curious to see what they do.
Me too. To be honest, I think that you really need to look at the past 3-4 years, really. The 3 years have sort of been a changing of the guard in Cincinnati. I think that's one thing that a lot of the national media doesn't get right about Cincinnati. I think some things they hit on the nail on the head, but really the past 3 or 4 years, there's been a whole changing of the guard in upper management of Cincinnati, with Katie Blackburn taking over more, and she's played more of a role in the rule change committee. And I think Duke Tobin has really shifted his mindset, especially since Burrow's entered the building. Like they've now, we're potentially going into this year with 3 offensive linemen that have a Super Bowl ring. That's 5 offensive linemen they've signed in the past 2 off seasons. And they just signed Irvin Smith Jr., who I think that they're more high on him than they were Hayden Hurst last year. And they got 14 games production out of Hayden Hurst. So I don't think that they're actually feel pressed to draft a tight end. I think they're more inclined to move back, like you said, gain an extra pick. You draft a running back to add to the room, even if it makes them stand. You lost Samaje, and then your next, let's say, 2 picks, the pick that you acquired by moving back out of the first, and then your first pick of the 3rd round, you go draft a couple of offensive linemen to add depth. Hopefully one of those is going to be a tackle who's going to be able to compete for right tackle.
Hey, Reggie, appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for the call. And yes, that'll be that is one scenario that they could really look at. And that signing too of the tight end was a solid one. They don't need a home run at tight end. Like, they're not a tight end offense. Like, if you can get a tight end that can block for you, that's great. But at the same time, I don't think if Mayer's there, you take him. Okay, if he's there, I think the Bengals take him. But if he's not, I don't think that they need to panic and say, oh my God, we need a tight end. You have Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd. You got this offensive line now. You need to make sure you got a running back that you can count on, especially, on all downs, not just on, first and second or what have you. So I think that, right, you're right. That tight end they got, he doesn't have to be the sexiest name out there. They don't need a Travis Kelce. They would love one. They don't need one. Patrick Mahomes needed Travis Kelce last year because your best receiver was Juju Smith-Schuster. All right. If you are
Super Bowl one.
If you are Joe Burrow, you have 3 options before you even have to look at the tight end as far as on a regular basis is concerned. So I agree with you on that. So
look at that. Kenner and a Bengals fan agreeing.
Then Mark Smith says, I totally disagree with this caller. Mark, then call in. What do you disagree with him about?
There's a ton of great offensive tackles out there. I mean, obviously we think Paris Johnson is the best because he's a Buckeye, obviously, but there's Broderick Jones from Georgia, the dude from Northwestern's highly rated, the tackle Martin from Tennessee. Like, there's a lot of dudes out there. So where the Bengals are drafting is probably Broderick Jones area. They're not going to sniff Paris Johnson or the dude from Northwestern. So it's probably be Jones or Martin from Tennessee.
518-1410. Mark Smith, I'm curious why you said you disagreed with that last caller. Call us, and we'll talk about that. Doug Toby says Centerville, they won 69-57. Centerville was ranked as the 13th seed, and they knocked off that team from Texas who was a 4 seed.
Take that.
So there's that. But all right, good stuff. 518-1410. Kenner and Cav, we'll be right back here in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast mostly cloudy, 25 tonight. Sunshine 57 tomorrow, Friday. Showers breezy and 63 by Rick Shrimp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Carol Wirtz Tire and Auto Service at 730 South Patterson in Dayton, where they treat every vehicle like their own and every customer like family. Online at c-wtire.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, trunk lids, license plate holders, and headlights. They've got lots of headlights. When you need parts, get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. eBay Motors. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients. Don't pay for water, pay for clean.
Save $10 when you spend $30 on Tide and Downy. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent. Must buy at least one participating Tide or Dreft detergent item, plus at least one participating Downy and or Bounce scent booster, liquid fabric softener, or dryer sheets. Prepaid card by mail. Visit pglaundryrebate.com for terms and conditions.
Been thinking about natural biologic therapies to treat your chronic joint pain? Meet Tyler Vale, co-founder of QC Kinetics.
To me, it is such an easy decision. If you are truly looking to avoid surgery and not treat yourself with Band-Aids like steroids and pain meds, then really there is no other option. And that's what I love so much about what I get to do.
QC Kinetics offers a variety of restorative natural options to rejuvenate the tissue in your joints and give you your life back.
When they come back a few months later, and it's so affirming to see their quality of life change in such a positive way.
Are you tired of the joint pain that keeps you from living your best life? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about these exciting restorative and regenerative options.
And you've been looking for an answer, something to avoid surgery. I'm just giving you the answer you've been looking for. QC Kinetics. Kinetics is energy in motion. We want to keep you in motion.
Get your free consultation today with QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Tax refund shock is everywhere. But what is it?
My tax refund shrank.
Mine too. The culprit? Pandemic-related stimulus payments and tax credits expiring. In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert.
Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off? Going there now.
50% off is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Is your tub worn out, but you're not sure who to trust to replace it? With over 2 million successful bath remodels, people trust Bathfitter because we know how to do it right. We've been custom designing and manufacturing baths for over 35 years. Our unique tub-over-tub installation takes as little as a day with no demo to fit your busy schedule. And we offer a lifetime warranty on every tub. That's how confident we are in our quality and durability. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now, the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Breaking news.
Tax refund shock is everywhere, but what is it?
My tax refund shrank.
Mine too.
The culprit? Pandemic-related stimulus payments and tax credits expiring. In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert.
Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off? Going there now.
50% off is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Shout out to the Hall of Famer. Bless you. Shout out to the Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy, earlier today. Got to hang out with us. Preview tomorrow's opening day. Man, Kenner, can you talk? Got Kevin just hacking everything up over here. Kenner stumbling over his words. A real A+ show today. Am I right? No, but the Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy, joined us a little bit ago and kind of help set the stage for the 2023 Major League Baseball season. The Cincinnati Reds opening day tomorrow. Game 1 of a 3-game series with the Pirates. And then, of course, your opening day starter, Hunter Green, the youngest opening day starter of all the pitchers that'll be on the mound tomorrow. He's the youngest. So that is a true reflection of who the Reds are as a rebuilding unit as we currently sit here right now. You know, it is interesting with all the names we've talked about throughout the day with Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, then obviously Jonathan India, and you look at Tyler Stevenson. Jose Barrero is a name that last year we thought we had kind of written off. He had a horrible season last year, and you think of all the really good middle infielders that are coming in. It's like, okay, well, Barrero, I feel like the Reds didn't really try hard to bring a shortstop in because you're going to have Ellie De La Cruz, you're going to have some other middle infielders that you're going to be able to kind of really squeeze into some of these spots here. He's had a heck of a spring, Barrero. So if Barrero can keep that train going, if he can pick up where he's left off in spring, I'm really excited to see because this team doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower. Tyler Stevenson is their biggest power bat. They don't have a lot of power. I know Jonathan India at times has been able to put the ball into the stands, but that's not really his game. This is going to be a small ball type of unit, and I think Barrero is going to play a role in that. I think India is going to play a role in that, and I think a lot of these guys are going to have to be real creative out on the base paths, and especially, with some of the new rules in place, it's going to allow them to be able to take advantage of that, the shift, the banning of the shift, and all that type of stuff. So the over-under for the Reds was 65.5 win total. According to FanDuel and a lot of different sports books out there. And right now, we talked a little bit ago, I'm taking the over as far as the Cincinnati Reds are concerned. I thought last year, I just saw a stat a little bit ago. They went 2-23 in the opening month of last season, and they had another stretch where they went 6-20. That's a 9-win. That's a 9-50 stretch, basically. And they still only lost 100 games. Seriously, if you think about that, in a 60-game span, they won 9 games, okay? They won 9 games at one point. When you think of the first month and the last month of the season. And they still, this is so just putting whipped cream on something here. I get that. But, I don't see this team going on those 6-20 stretches or that 3-23 stretch this year. It was a 500 ball club for pretty much the majority of all season last year. I think that's who they're going to be, close to a 500 ball club. 70+ win range is where I think they are. I'm taking the over. But then we have that other pain in the ass team here in the state of Ohio that actually wins baseball games. They, very similar to the Reds, don't like to spend money, but this is where they differentiate themselves from the Reds. They like to win baseball games. Cav, the win-loss total the win total, according to FanDuel, was what for the Guardians?
86.5.
80. What was their total last year?
They won 91. Was it 91? It was 91. It was 90 plus.
90 plus. So
they,
either
92.
way, 92.
They won 92.
Okay, so 92. Not terrible. So where I'm at with this, as far as the Guardians are concerned, they just always seem to surprise you. I know the Central is not the toughest division out there by any means.
Right.
That has kind of helped them in their rebuilding or retooling phase, of course. You are going to be without one of your top pitchers to start the season. How long is he out, by the way?
8 weeks.
It's not terrible. That's 2 months, though.
Yeah.
8 weeks doesn't sound that long.
You're number two.
You're number two. That's 2 months.
Yeah.
Now that's close to what, 8 starts?
Yeah.
That's
about 7-8 starts.
7-8 starts. That could be a big deal. I'm going to take the under, not just because of that injury, but because FanDuel is plus 120 on that. If you take the under, as far as the Guardians are concerned, and I'm looking for payouts on this, so I would take the under. But the Guardians are still a very good team, and they, they're extending a lot of their guys internally. They haven't got to the cash spend portion of their retooling phase yet. I think you're going to see another good season. You're going to have them back in the playoffs. I'm curious, though, like your overall analysis. This is your team, the Guardians.
This is that injury to Tristan McKenzie really sucks because I'm looking at the schedule. So they play Seattle and the Yankees 10 times in their first 13 games. That's not how you want to start the season. You want to start it with the Oaklands. You want to start it with the Nationals. You want to start it with you want to start out with those guys. I mean, they start out with the big hitters before they even get to the Astros later on in the month. So, I don't like this April at all. So that worries me a lot. I'm still going to go with the over because, like you said, the AL Central is very mid at best last year. The White Sox hung around until, the Guardians ultimately pulled away. But, you take a look at Kansas City, they were hanging around too. So, these teams, for some ungodly reason, think they can win. I need them to quit, like the Tigers. The Tigers quit relatively early. I need them to give up early. But all seriousness, I think the team will still be very good. They'll squeak their way into the playoffs just like they did last year. So I will still go with the over because 86.5. I say they get to 90 wins again. 90 wins. All right. I mean, that is the over. It is interesting. We have so many Browns and so many Bengals fans. We don't hear, and this was my criticism last year. Every once in a while, late in the season, you guys don't talk any Guardians. I'm like, you guys don't that doesn't seem to move the needle. It always is fascinating to me in Dayton. When you talk about the different, I mean, again, baseball, football, different sports, like the Guardians don't seem to move the needle here, but the Browns do. Right. And that's very interesting to me. Now, again, playoff time, there was that resurgence of interest in the Guardians, and we'll be doing more Guardians coverage and talk to balance it out with the Reds, of course, to basically ride the coattails of the Guardians' wins. If we talk about their wins and the rebuilding of the players with the Reds, I mean, I think that's that happy medium of trying to find, internal happiness. Man, and this is the crazy part. They're starting in Seattle, first 4 games in Seattle. All the games are on at 10 o'clock, so I won't be seeing any of them. Box score. I'm living in the box score. Box score shorty. So there's that. Kenner and Cap 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Some foot issues just can't be fixed by those expensive shoe stores or shoe inserts. A foot exam from a doctor of podiatric medicine, who is the medical expert in foot and ankle care, may give solutions after doing a complete foot examination. If you suffer from foot, heel, or ankle pain, let us help you find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association so you know you are being treated by the very best. Visit us at associationsadvanceohio.com for a referral today.
Now's the time to get a great deal on Kubota construction equipment, featuring durable Kubota engines, more comfort, more productivity, more get it done right. The Kubota construction lineup shows up ready to work every day. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 36 months. Now through March 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see their full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check them out online at ColumbusEquipment.com. Spring into a new career. KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings. Second shift production associates. Material handling experience is a plus. This is an excellent new opportunity that offers an attractive benefit package. Medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a new competitive wage. Starting at $19.83 per hour with annual increases. KTH is hosting open interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Visit kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Want to make tonight's dinner a perfect 10? Swing by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. With 10 freshly marinated, honey-dipped premium tenderloins, 3 dipping sauces, 2 of our irresistible large sides, and 5 fluffy biscuits, it's family time made from scratch. Take home a top-notch dinner the whole family will love from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Is your child eager to learn, but overly active, easily distracted, and falling through the cracks in the classroom? Summit Academy is the perfect learning environment for students that need the extra push. Their teachers embrace the academic, social, and emotional success of kids who learn differently. They're a nonprofit, tuition-free public school in Cincinnati, Columbus, Middletown, and Xenia. They educate all students, but specialize in autism and ADHD. For more information, visit summitacademies.org or call 1-844-549-8496.
When I got the news, I was shocked.
I was scared. I was angry.
When I heard it could be treated with the right care, I was relieved.
I was happy. I was given a second chance.
Urology Specialists of Ohio offers men peace of mind. 5 physicians and 5 locations. Now accepting new patients. Make an appointment with a physician that cares about your health and prevention. Urology Specialists of Ohio, Beaver Creek, Springfield, Urbana, Xenia, and London. Online at urologyspecialistsofohio.com.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Check out our great selection of premium vinyl siding from CertainTeed. Choose from a wide variety of colors to add value and curb appeal to your home. And save big. Get 11% off your entire siding project right now at Menards. Good through April 2nd. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting. We are excited to announce we are open and here to help with your tax preparation needs. We offer multiple options, both convenient and safe. You can drop off your tax return, upload it to our secure website, or call for an appointment. We have 5 locations in the Miami Valley and 1 in Columbus to serve you. No matter the situation, we're confident we can do the job right. Visit Laird'sTax.com or call 937-325-6571. Laird's Tax and Accounting, here for you to ensure continued confidence in your tax return.
Spring is here. Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including all the March basketball tournament parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's Beer Barn has apparel and gift cards. You can call, walk in, or drive through. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. Kinner and Kev, live from opening day, presented by Frickers. This Thursday morning at 8 a.m. right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM.
We are Dayton's radio home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. Catch every regular season game. Well, you caught all the spring training games. Catch every regular season game, and whenever that moon turns blue, playoff games right here on 1410 Wing AM. The Reds are rebuilding. There's no doubt about it, and we're not hiding or shying away from it. It's all about tempering expectations. When you tune into the Reds, it's about the names that you're listening for, the development of the young talent. Never going to sell you on anything otherwise when it comes to the Reds this season. But there is one thing that'll make this season more enjoyable, and you guys think I'm joking. I'm not. If you are into sports betting, I do think that, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever your sports book is that you like to use, I do think that when you have a team like the Reds, that the win-losses are going to be what you hang your hat on, then that's going to be a miserable summer for you. But if you like placing bets, I think that that's going to lead to a huge uptick in interest in the Reds, or at least a new avenue that we as Reds fans can kind of take an interest in them. You know what I mean? Like, and make that entertainment value be what it is. The over-under of how many innings a pitcher can go into the game with, how many hits. You're going to be locked into every at-bat. I did see, and we talked about this earlier a little bit too, but the average length of the games during spring training last year, Kev, it was 3 hours and 10 minutes or something like that, and this year it was 2 hours 35 minutes. That is a half hour. They shaved a half hour off. All the rules, they shaved a half hour off. I don't know what that means for what ratings are going to be or not. I've always been in the mindset, if the content and the product is good, I don't want less of a good product. I want more of it. But we'll see what that means. Slower pace game versus a football game or a movie or something like that. So maybe that's why some people would, feel like this is why it needs to be sped up. But it'll be interesting to see if that does lead to an increase in ratings throughout the season, Kev. But a half hour is a long time. That's
Definitely. I mean, think about it. Like, you're stuck in traffic for a half hour when you're leaving the stadium.
Yep.
Like, think about it. Like, if a family goes down to a game that starts at 6:40, you're probably leaving work a little early to go grab the wife and kids and get on the highway, get down there, and then you got to get back home to Dayton after the game. Guess what? Kids are in summer. Adults got to work the next morning.
Yep.
So a half hour goes a long way.
So the games, and by the way, it's scattered throughout. So for instance, tomorrow's game's a 4:10 first pitch, but I see a lot of 6:40. It looks like a lot of Reds games. I think they've all switched now. There used to be a lot of 7:10 first pitch times for the Reds. They've moved it up to 6:40. So 6:40 first pitch. And the reason that's significant is because you combine that with the time that is shaved off of games because of the new rules that have been implemented. Now you're getting home an hour earlier. If you're used to going to these games, if you were used to going to games when they were 7:10 first pitch times, especially at night during the week, okay, you go during the week, 7:10 first pitch, then you have a 3.5 hour game. You're getting at 10:30, then an hour drive home. You're almost getting home at midnight. Now 6:40. All right, you're getting done at 9:40, at 9 o'clock. Let's just say a little about 9:15, and then you're still home by 10:15. That's a big difference. An hour. That's going to lead. I think that's going to help with attendance. I think it's going to help with a lot of things as far as being able to go to a game and take the whole game in. Nonetheless, so interesting how that's all going to work out.
Well, you go to more games than I do. What time do you normally leave a game?
So when I go to games, I love Great American Ballpark. I love the feel and the atmosphere of baseball games. It's warm out. It's beautiful outside. Just the lighting of the ballpark, the city, just all around you. You know what I mean? And you're there with friends and family, drinking a couple beers throughout the night. You're just having a blast. Because there's not a lot of fans at the games, you can all spread out, put your feet up on the seat. Yeah, I love it. It's more to me about the smell of the popcorn and the food and all that stuff. And you swear you're not going to eat food when you get there, but you can't resist the smell of the peppers and the dogs and all that stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it. But as far as we try to get out of there, we like to be back before midnight. We try to get back a little after 11, so around 10, but we would be leaving and getting back. We would legitimately be taking the entire game in and getting back well before midnight if that's the case. So from that aspect, I guess, yes, that could be a big deal.
Yeah.
We'll see though. We'll see if it leads to higher attendance at games. We'll see. I tell you what, I don't know what attendance will be like all season long, but I know the attendance for tomorrow's Great American Ballpark opening day. It's sold out. Tomorrow's game is sold out against the Pirates. Kev Nash and I brought. Jeez, I told you my Texas accent keeps sneaking out every once in a while. It did earlier. Brought in early tomorrow. All right, Kev Nash and I live at Great American Ballpark for our opening day special presented by Frickers. In fact, we'll be on live from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll have Marty Brenneman come and hang out with us for a bit. We'll hear and have some pieces that we were able to catch up with David Bell and a couple of the key players throughout the week as they got back from spring training. 2-hour opening day special tomorrow morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on 1410 Wing AM. Kevin and I live at Great American Ballpark. Never been to opening day. Pretty excited about it. And we'll be bringing you some of the coverage live from GABP tomorrow. And again, a huge shout out to Frickers for jumping on board as a sponsor to help us do that as well. I'm pretty jacked for tomorrow, though, especially to hang out with Marty Brenneman. Yeah, there we go. All right, Kenner and Cab, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/Kinner, Kinner, and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. I know people still don't trust the Big Ten, but keep an eye on Michigan State. All on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Kinner to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Hey everyone, Kinner and Kev with you here on behalf of Twin Peaks. We're enjoying the tournament just like all of you. The star players, the upsets, the buzzer beaters. It's all great and all, but what makes it even better, it's where we're watching the games, right, Kev?
That's right, Kenner. Twin Peaks here in Beaver Creek is where we're taking in all the action. The games have been great, but their made-from-scratch menu items, along with their wide range of drink selections, makes Twin Peaks the best spot in the Miami Valley to watch all the tournament games.
That's right. We look forward to seeing all of you taking in the tournament at Twin Peaks in Beaver Creek.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at